Most parents want the best for their kids, but what happens when they start seeing their child's success as something they should control? I never expected that my own parents, the two people who raised me, would turn around and claim I owe them my entire life. But that's exactly what happened the moment my company started making real money. One evening, out of nowhere, they sat me down and said, "We didn't raise you for free. Now it's time you give back everything." At first, I thought they were joking. I laughed nervously, but their faces were stone-cold serious. Weren't asking for support or a thank you. They were demanding control over my business. The same business I built from the ground up. Pulling late nights, missing birthdays, taking risks they never supported in the first place. Suddenly, every sacrifice I made didn't matter. According to them, I owed them everything simply because they gave me food and a roof when I was a child. They even threatened to take legal action if I didn't compensate them. I felt like I was in some bizarre nightmare. Toxic parents are one thing, but to demand ownership of their adult child's success, that takes it to another level. The tension in the house grew with each passing day. Every conversation turned into a guilt trip. I started to wonder, had I really missed the signs all these years? It wasn't just about money anymore. It became a power struggle, a test of boundaries, and an emotional war I never wanted. I had to make a choice: protect my peace and my company, or give in to the pressure of family guilt. What happened next pushed everything to the breaking point and left me questioning if blood really is thicker than betrayal. Growing up, my relationship with my parents was complicated, but I always thought it was normal. They provided the basics: school supplies, meals, a roof. But emotional support, that was rare. Anytime I failed, they'd say things like, "After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us." I got used to feeling like nothing I did was ever enough. So when I started my company in college, I didn't tell them much. I wanted to prove I could make something of myself without their constant criticism or strings attached. In the early days, I juggled classes and side gigs just to fund my startup. While my friends were partying, I was designing, pitching, coding, fixing bugs, barely sleeping. It was hard, but for the first time, I felt like I had control over my life. When things finally started to take off, a steady stream of clients, a few media mentions, and then some real profit stats, when everything shifted at home, suddenly, my parents became unusually interested in my work. My dad started calling me into the living room just to ask how much I made that month. My mom began suggesting I move the business under the family name. It felt strange, like they were circling, waiting. I tried to laugh it off, but there was something cold in their tone that I hadn't noticed before. Then came the dinner that changed everything. They sat me down, looked me in the eye, and said, "We invested in you. Your success is ours too." I froze. It wasn't a question. It was a declaration. And before I could say anything, they started listing every dime they'd spent on me growing up like a bill they expected me to pay. That night, I realized they didn't just want credit. I wanted control. I didn't sleep that night. My mind kept replaying their words like a broken record. "You owe us." The guilt hit hard at first. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was being selfish. But then I remembered the times they laughed when I told them about my dreams, the times they warned me I'd fail if I didn't follow their path. They never believed in me when it counted. Now that things were finally working out, they were trying to rewrite history. In the days that followed, things got even weirder. My mom began calling relatives, casually mentioning that our business was doing well, like she had been involved all along. My dad hinted to his friends that he might soon retire off the profits of my company. They were painting a picture that didn't exist. Every word felt like a trap, carefully placed to turn others against me if I didn't comply. Then came the pressure from within the family. My cousin messaged me, asking why I was being cold with my parents after all their sacrifices. My uncle called to remind me that family always comes first. It was clear they were using every tool they had to corner me emotionally. The manipulation wasn't just subtle anymore, it was calculated. Meanwhile, my business was entering a critical phase. I had a huge investor call coming up and a product launch just around the corner. But instead of focusing on those, I was stuck dealing with whispered conversations, sideways glances, and messages loaded with guilt. I couldn't risk this kind of drama leaking into my professional life. One night, I overheard my parents talking. In the hallway, my mom said, "If they don't give us what we deserve, we'll make sure they regret it." I stood frozen behind the door, heart pounding. I realized then this wasn't just a family misunderstanding. It was war. And I had no idea how far they were willing to go. I started locking my office door at night, not because I was scared for my safety, but because I didn't trust what they might try next. Ever since I overheard that hallway conversation, things hadn't felt the same. My parents became quieter, colder, but also more strategic. They stopped confronting me directly. Instead, they started digging, asking questions about my accounts, my clients, even my employees. My mom once accidentally walked into my workspace while I was on a confidential Zoom call and pretended she was just bringing me tea. I wasn't buying it. The real breaking point started with a strange email from my investor liaison. She mentioned someone had contacted the firm, claiming to be a co-founder. They said I was mentally unwell, unstable, and couldn't manage the company alone. My stomach dropped. I knew instantly who it had to be. My parents weren't just making threats anymore, they were taking action. Behind my back, I confronted them that evening, demanding to know if they'd sent that email. My dad didn't even deny it. He just shrugged and said, "We had to do something. You left us no choice." I couldn't believe how calmly they justified it, as if ruining my reputation and sabotaging my company was just a lesson I needed to learn. My mom chimed in, saying, "We built you. We can take it back." My mind was spinning. All these years, I thought maybe they just didn't understand boundaries. But this wasn't confusion. This was control. Manipulation. They were trying to force my hand, make me feel so cornered that I'd give them a seat at the table just to keep the peace. Then, days later, I got a legal notice. They were filing a claim saying they had a verbal agreement to own a share of the company. I stared at the paper, feeling a cold wave of panic. It was official now. This wasn't just family drama anymore. It was a full-blown legal war. I still didn't know how far they'd go, what I'd have to do to protect what I built. I thought the legal notice was the worst of it, but I was wrong. Just when I started planning my response with a lawyer, a second blow hit me, this time from someone I never expected. My childhood best friend, Aaron, who knew everything about my business journey from day one, suddenly stopped replying to my messages. He'd always been there, cheering me on from the sidelines, even helping me design the prototype for my first product. I called him, messaged him, nothing. And then, 2 days later, I saw his name on a social media post shared by my parents. They announced a new partnership for a startup project featuring none other than Aaron. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. Aaron was now working with them, the same people trying to take me down. I couldn't believe it. I texted him again, and this time he responded, but coldly. "They gave me a real opportunity," he wrote. "You wouldn't listen. Maybe you needed a wake-up call." It felt like betrayal stacked on top of betrayal. It became clear my parents weren't just trying to claim part of my company. They were trying to replace me entirely. They were building something on the side using pieces of my own vision. My ideas, my story, and Aaron. He was their new golden child, someone they could shape and control from the beginning. The more I thought about it, the more everything clicked. That's why they'd suddenly taken interest in my investor meetings. That's why they kept snooping around, asking questions. They weren't just trying to destroy my business, they were trying to copy it. My inbox flooded with confusion from clients and vendors who had seen the post. Some thought I was expanding. Others asked why Aaron was speaking on my behalf. The lines were blurring fast, and my reputation was slipping. I had to act fast, but what I didn't know was that the biggest betrayal was still waiting, quietly moving in the background. And it would shake everything I thought I knew. I decided I couldn't stay quiet any longer. With my business on the line and my name being dragged through the mud, I gathered every document, every email, every message that proved the company was solely mine. I met with my lawyer, who helped me draft a detailed response to the legal claim. But that wasn't enough. My parents were still out there spinning lies, and Aaron was echoing their story like it was his own. So I did something I never thought I'd have to went public. I recorded a video. Not an emotional rant or a dramatic takedown, but a calm, clear explanation. I laid out my journey, my struggles, the work I put in. I showed receipts, early drafts, timestamp designs, pitch decks with my name, voice memos of late-night planning sessions, and financial records. I didn't mention my parents by name, but I told the truth about how some people were now claiming ownership of what they never helped build. I posted it across all my business channels. The response was overwhelming. Clients backed me. Fellow entrepreneurs shared their own experiences with toxic family expectations. Investors reached out in support. And most importantly, the legal threat. It collapsed. Their case had no real evidence, just vague statements and emotional claims. It was dismissed before it ever made it to court. But just when I thought it was over, the real twist came. Aaron showed up at my office one morning holding a folder. He looked nervous. He confessed everything how my parents had promised him. A share in the new company if he helped them gain access to my systems, my plans. But when he realized they were planning to push him out too, he backed off. Inside the folder were printed emails and recordings of conversations he had secretly saved. He gave it to me and said they used both of us. In the end, I didn't just save my company, I exposed the people trying to take it down. But I also learned that sometimes the biggest battles aren't in boardrooms or courtrooms. They're at your own dinner table. After Aaron's confession, everything made more sense. He had been caught in their manipulation just like I had. Been for years. It was hard to process, but I appreciated that he came forward. With the evidence he gave me, I was able to secure my company fully, reinforce all my systems, and make sure no one could ever tamper with my work again. I even took steps to legally protect my intellectual property, something I hadn't done before because I never imagined needing protection from my own family. As for my parents, I went no contact. It wasn't an easy decision. Cutting ties with family never is. But after everything they put me through, the lies, the pressure, the betrayal, I had to choose peace. And honestly, once I stepped away, I realized how much emotional weight I'd been carrying my whole life, just trying to please them. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Aaron and I didn't go back to being best friends, but we talked. He apologized for getting involved and admitted he'd been blinded by promises. I forgave him, not because I had to, but because holding on to the bitterness wasn't helping me move forward. Now, my company is stronger than ever. My story even inspired a few media outlets to cover the topic of toxic family dynamics in business. And I've connected with others who've been through similar struggles. I never imagined something so painful would help others, but it did. That's what keeps me going. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: success doesn't mean sacrificing your boundaries. No one, no matter how close, has the right to claim what they didn't earn. Families should support you, not sabotage you. And when they don't, it's okay to walk away and protect what you've built.